Welcome to Liberton, a picturesque suburb of Edinburgh rich in history and charm. Today we'll explore some of the historic buildings and structures that make this area unique. Once spanning from Dalkeith to Musselburgh, Greater Liberton is now primarily known for its distinct areas. Nether Liberton, centred around the Inch. Over Liberton, home to the historic Liberton Tower. Liberton Dams, located at the foot of Liberton Brae. Kirkton of Liberton, featuring the central Liberton Kirk. Origins of the name Liberton. While some speculate it means leper town, there are no records of lepers here. The name, first recorded in the 11th century, likely derives from the Anglican word for barley farm on the slope. Over time it evolved from Libertune to Liberton. Liberton joined the city of Edinburgh in 1920, and with urban expansion, its boundaries have become blurred. Enjoy exploring this area rich in history and heritage. Our journey begins with Liberton Kirk. Liberton Kirk, one of the most significant landmarks in the area, dates to possibly a Celtic chapel, with evidence of monuments from the 8th and 11th centuries found here. In 1128, King David I granted this land to the Abbey of Holyrood, establishing a chapel that became a vital stop for Newbattle Abbey monks on their way to Edinburgh. Post-Reformation, around 1560, the chapel transitioned to the Presbyterian Church of Scotland, serving a small but spread out population. The current stone kirk, built in 1830, replicated an earlier structure. Despite rumours of an 1814 fire, records show the church expanded to accommodate more worshippers. Inside, the kirk could hold about 1,000 people, with unmarked graves beneath the seating areas, including those of some ministers. The old kirkyard holds fascinating gravestones such as that of Lieutenant Thornton. Notice the unique design. The pulpit stands on the side, differing from traditional Catholic layouts. The Anderson Halls. Next, we visit the Anderson Halls, built in 1886. This hall was named after Miss Christian Anderson of Morden, whose endowment significantly contributed to its construction. The hall was intended for congregational and general community use and remains a testament to local philanthropy. Liberton Inn and School. Nearby is the building that once housed the Liberton Inn and School. Originally a school and schoolmaster's house, it has ties to Sir Walter Scott's novel The Heart of Midlothian, as the supposed residence of Reuben Butler. The building was later converted into the Liberton Inn, which operated until 2016. It has now been refurbished into private flats. St Hilda's. Originally built in 1837 for William White, a book and music seller, this building was modestly known as Kirkbrae Cottage. It was renamed St Hilda's in 1901 when it became the site of a school. William White was known for his thoughtful and generous nature, reflected in his detailed will. The house changed hands in 1857, bought by George Murray, a stationer, and later extended by Dr. David Brodie, a prominent medical figure. Dr. Brodie established an institution for juvenile imbeciles here, renaming it Columbia Lodge. His second wife, Jessie McFarlane, an evangelist who played a significant role until her untimely demise in 1871. The next notable owner was Catherine Jockle, a successful dress and embroidery shop owner, who named it Kirkbrae House. In 1901, her daughter Rose, a classics graduate, and her mother established St Hilda's School. The school flourished, even acquiring additional buildings and expanding into facilities. During World War II, the school was evacuated to Ballykinrain Castle and never returned. Post-war, the building was converted into flats. Kirkbrae Cottages. At the corner of Kirkbrae and Mount Vernon Road, you'll find the Kirkbrae Cottages. These early 19th century cottages are notable for their traditional architecture, including a symmetrical design, steeply pitched roof, and timber sash windows. Mount Vernon Cemetery and Chapel. Founded in 1895 by the Archdiocese of St Andrews in Edinburgh, Mount Vernon Cemetery is Edinburgh's only Catholic cemetery. Spanning over a century, it has become the final resting place for nearly 38,000 people. The cemetery is named after the land known as Mount Vernon. Although the origin of the name is unclear, some speculate it might be linked to Admiral Edward Vernon, who is also credited with naming the rum drink grog. Mount Vernon Cemetery is notable for its military graves, housing 38 burials from World War I and 57 from World War II. Unmarked war graves are honoured on a screen wall memorial, and the Commonwealth War Graves Commission maintains several non-war graves along with Belgian, Italian and Polish war graves. A small chapel within the grounds hosts special services in November during the Feast of All Souls, a time when Catholics pray for the holy souls in purgatory. This serene and historical rich site is significant as a monument of this community's enduring respect and remembrance for those who have passed away. Mount Alvernia Convent. In 1896, a group of Poor Clare Collatina nuns purchased the land and established Mount Alvernia Convent. This closed order of nuns had limited contact with the local community, but they sold some of their produce, particularly eggs, through a bell system at the large gates. Remarkably, the convent had a telephone as early as 1910. However, the convent's history was not without controversy. In 1938, 5 nuns were expelled, and although they challenged their eviction in court, they ultimately lost. The Roman Catholic Church made multiple unsuccessful attempts to change the building's use and relocate the nuns' bodies buried on the site. Despite closing in 1992, the convent's legacy continued. The remaining nuns moved to Humby in East Lothian, and the building, though listed, suffered vandalism and fire damage. When the site was purchased in 1994 for housing development, the cemetery was preserved intact with a stone wall and locked gates. Liberton Hospital. Liberton Hospital was established in 1906. Founded by donations and built on land purchased from Sir Robert Gilmore of the Inch, initially described as a grey stone building with a red roof, the stone's iron oxide content eventually turned it pink over time. Designed to care for incurable patients, the hospital had strict admission rules, prioritising the dying and excluding those with mental diseases. Admission required a certificate of moral character, and patients had to pay weekly fees unless they were unable, in which case costs were recovered from any discovered possessions. Despite their conditions, many patients lived for years, benefiting from the hospital's good food and care. The rules also allowed patients to go on outings, though delayed returns could lead to discharge. Due to high demand, the adjacent Neville Cottage was purchased in 1914 to increase bed capacity. The main 1906 structure remains integral to current redevelopment plans, preserving a piece of Liberton's medical history. Southfield House. Originally built in the late 17th century, Southfield House was redesigned in 1875 by architect John Chesser for the Crowell family. The mansion, located on what once was a much larger estate, featured grand gardens and ancient trees, some of which still stand today. Southfield House has seen many changes over the years. In 1902 it became the Royal Victorian Hospital and later served as a sanatorium and farm colony for tuberculosis patients. By the 1960s it was an NHS hospital, caring for elderly patients. Finally, in 2000, Southfield House was redeveloped into 10 privately owned apartments. The house has a rich history of notable visitors, including Dr. Samuel Johnson and his biographer Boswell, who are believed to have stayed there during their trip to the Highlands. Southfield House remains as it was, with its varied past, from a baronial mansion to a hospital and now a modern residential space. It remains an integral part of Liberton's historical tapestry. Ellens Glen Road and the Robin's Nest. We come to Ellens Glen Road, a historical path extending from Gilmerton Road to Lasswade Road, originally part of Stenhouse Hamlet. As we enter from Lasswade Road, Southfield House comes into view through the trees and on the right. The first cottage we encounter is Ellens Glen Cottage, a name it has recently acquired. Further along we find number 29 Ellens Glen Road, once the original Robin's Nest Inn. Today the new pub stands on Gilmerton Road, at the foot of Ellens Glen Road. In front of this historical building is a well with a metal canopy. Beautiful roses climb upon it. Though traditional, these roses should be white. These roses were historically required as a symbolic payment to the crown, should they ever come to collect. Stenhouse Hamlet. Further down Ellens Glen Road from Lasswade Road, Ellens Glen Lane appears to the right. This lane begins with a steep hill and a canopy of trees, with the Stenhouse Burn running alongside it, joining the Birdie House Burn at the bottom. Originally named Stenhouse Hamlet, the area was renamed to Ellens Glen in 1966. Robert Alexander named it after his sister Ellen, who died young, engraving her name on a cottage. He replaced the old cottage with red brick houses, using bricks from the local waterworks and marking them with his and his wife's initials. The name Stenhouse likely comes from an early stone house in the area. The road and lanes have remnants of the Via Regis, or King's Highway, first mentioned in 1283 as a path used by monks travelling to Edinburgh. The road was also used by Gilmerton carters, and a large stone pal post still stands as a reminder of its history. One notable house, Burnside, was originally a toll house on Mayfield Road. It was dismantled and rebuilt here, with extensions added over time. Stenhouse Hamlet once had a small population, including 5 witches. Today, it's a peaceful haven. Birdie House Burn Park, signposted at the bridge, leads to Lasswade Road, or further to Birdie House. Morton Hall House. Morton Hall House is part of Morton Hall Estate, adjacent and just to the north of Frogston Road. Today, the estate features a garden centre, caravan and camping park, and a pub with a restaurant. Historically, it extended over a vast area, including farms at Blackford, Bowbridge, Buxton, Frogston, Morton and Greenbank. The name Morton comes from the Anglian Mearton, meaning farm by the lake, and has been recorded since 1182, with Morton Hall appearing in 1404. The land was given to Sir Henry Sinclair by King Robert the Bruce in 1317, and later acquired by the Trotter family in 1635. The current Morton Hall House, built in 1796, replaced a moated defensive centre. Although described as austere, it is characteristic of its era, with well-blended later additions. Today the house has been converted into modern apartments. A recent archaeological dig in the caravan park uncovered remains of an army camp used during World War I by the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, and World War II by the 16th Battalion of the Durham Light Infantry. Post-war, these buildings housed displaced Eastern Europeans. Alnwick Hill House. The original house at Alnwick Hill was built in the late 1700s, was Scotland's first asylum for fee-paying mentally ill patients. Around 1840, it briefly admitted paupers, but by 1841, it became the home of George Boyd, a partner in Oliver and Boyd Printers. In 1861, the house transformed into a reformatory for fallen women, serving unmarried mothers. The 1861 census lists Agnes Nelson, a former missionary, as matron, with 22 residents. By the 1871 and 1891 census, it housed the same matron, 6 staff and 30 inmates. In 1891, Robert Wilson renamed it Home for Prostitutes, further lowering its occupant status. Today, this historic building is a private dwelling. 7 Acre Park. Further west along Staindyke Head, we come to 7 Acre Park, located on former farmland north of the Netherbank housing estate, nestled between Morton Hall, Liberton and the Braid Hills. Accessible via Staindyke Head, off Annick Hill Road or from Netherbank View. The park features 5 main entrances, creating a countryside feel despite its urban surroundings. Covering 7 acres, the park offers open spaces for games like football and a multi-gym exercise area. Its most popular feature is a secure children's play area for ages 3 to 14. Bustling with activity year-round, benches and picnic tables are scattered throughout the park. 7 Acre Park is a vital green space, beautifully landscaped with trees, flower beds and hundreds of spring daffodils. It provides stunning views of Arthur's Seat, Blackford Hill, Liberton Tower and even Fife. Adopted by Edinburgh Council around 1999, the park was gifted to the Annick Hill Proprietors Association in 2003. A signposted woodland walk features impressive wood carvings of woodland animals and informative signs about local flora and fauna, enhancing the park's charm and educational value. World War II gun emplacements. In 1941, an anti-aircraft battery and a circular ground locating radar were constructed in the fields south of Liberton House. The battery features 4 Vickers Armstrong QF 3.7-inch anti-aircraft guns, 2 adjacent ammunition magazines and a command post. Each AA battery had a radar system with a transmitter and receiver unit in a wheeled cabin, elevated on a concrete block to ensure accurate signal reception. The radar unit, a GL Mark II type, was centrally positioned within a circular area, with a wire mesh mat to level the returning radar signal from target aircraft. Although only the circular shape cut into the slope remains today, it highlights the site's historical significance. The troops' sleeping quarters, once located to the southwest, are now occupied by a greyhound sanctuary. This site stands as testament to the wartime efforts in protecting the area. Liberton House. Liberton House, an A-listed fortified house, stands at the end of an elm-lined avenue off Liberton Drive. Built around 1605, it became the residence of the Littles of Upper Liberton, succeeding Liberton Tower in 1610. The house is L-shaped, with a courtyard, and has evolved over centuries, with the date 1675 marked on its lower portion. Adorned with a distinct hue derived from lime mixed with blood, a symbol of wealth, the house boasts ornate features. On the southwest corner there's a fine angled dial, around the top of which is the motto, "As the sun runs, so death comes." The same motto is found at Inch House and is on the sundial above and left of the door. Above the dial, the corner is rounded and enclosed with a carved scroll containing the arms of Little and the initials WL 1683, being William Little, the great-grandson of William Little the Lord Provost, who inherited Liberton House in 1662. Ownership passed through several generations of the Little family, eventually merging with the Gilmore family, who held it until the 20th century. Surrounded by tall iron gates bearing the initials LH, the driveway leads past a bee wall and a 17th century dovecot, although birds obviously avoid nesting there. Legends of haunting add intrigue, with tales of apparitions like Pierre the French nobleman and a covenant-supporting Little family member. Despite periods of neglect and a fire in 1991, Liberton House was meticulously restored in 2010 by architect Nicholas Groves Rains, preserving its Renaissance garden and transforming it into a cherished private residence today. Liberton Tower. Liberton Tower, a square tower house nestled in the upper Liberton of Edinburgh's Braid Hills. epitomises the grandeur of its era. Likely constructed in the 15th century, its builder remains a mystery, yet its architectural significance endures. Standing at 45 feet tall, with a commanding view over Edinburgh, the tower's sturdy stone structure includes a pitched roof and a parapet walk. Inside, it features a semicircular vault dividing the interior into two compartments, each spanning 2 stories. The first floor serves practical storage purposes. The entrance, accessed via a staircase on the east side, reflects its defensive design, positioned 16 feet above ground level. Evidence of past conflicts, including cannonball remnants and archaeological finds from the 1650s, hint at its tumultuous history during Cromwell's invasion. Abandoned in 1610, the tower later served agricultural purpose, falling into disrepair around 1990. Restored by Simpson and Brown architects in 1994 under the Castles of Scotland Preservation Trust, it was revitalised for holiday lets, preserving its historical charm for visitors to experience. Today, Liberton Tower awaits a new chapter, offering a glimpse into Scotland's rich architectural and military past amidst the serene landscape of Upper Liberton. Liberton Dams, Blackford Glen Roads. The area known as Liberton Dams was first captured on Adair's map of 1682. Reveals its ancient origins as a hamlet. Originally featuring 2 mill lades, or dams, these water channels powered local mills before merging to supply the mill at Nether Liberton. The area played a crucial role in Edinburgh's water supply evolution. Starting with water from springs at Comiston in 1676, water was transported via wooden pipes until iron pipes replaced them between 1704 and 1720. A notable engineering feat occurred in 1788 with the introduction of a steam pump, manned by a workforce of 20 to bolster the city's water supply from the Braid Burn. By 1890, the Edinburgh Water Company spearheaded efforts to channel water from Comiston, making a significant advancement in urban infrastructure. Today, remnants of this era include a prominent water pipe along the raised bank and historical stone houses crafted by George Good, whose workshops were at the bottom right of Gilmerton Road, known as Good's Corner. The Good's Corner site is now occupied by student flats. Agassiz Rock, Blackford Hill Nature Reserve, Blackford Glen Road, a favourite spot for dog walkers, joggers and gentle walkers heading into the Hermitage of Braids, holds a significant geological landmark, Agassiz Rock. On October 27, 1840, Swiss geologist Louis Agassiz identified the scratches on this rock as evidence of glacial activity, marking the first recognition of former ice sheets in a now ice-free region. This discovery highlighted the global impact of glaciation. The surrounding hills, formed by extinct volcanic activity, consist of hard igneous rocks, which was quarried from 1826 to 1853 for road construction. Agassiz Rock not only showcases the area's geological history, but also its contribution to understanding Earth's glacial past. King's Building Campus, University of Edinburgh. Following World War I, the government recognised the urgent need for more doctors, scientists and engineers, spurring an increase in education funding. With a surge in science student numbers post-war, existing facilities at the University of Edinburgh became inadequate. Principal Sir James Alfred Ewing sought a long-term solution and identified the potential of West Mains Farm near the Royal Observatory on Blackford Hill. In 1919, the university purchased the 115-acre farm for the new science campus, setting aside 90 acres for development. Construction of the chemistry building, now known as the Joseph Black Building, began in November 1919, designed by James Walker. It featured innovative architectural elements like a sawtooth roof, and large windows, focusing on functional internal features rather than exterior aesthetics. The phased construction plan allowed for future expansion, with the second floor added in 1950. On July the 6th, 1920, King George V laid the foundation stone for the Chemistry Building, officially naming the site the King's Buildings in his honour. This marked the beginning of what would become a major hub for scientific research and education at the University of Edinburgh. We've reached the end of our journey around Liberton, and we hope you enjoyed the video. This is a brief video history of Liberton's most notable buildings and places, but more comprehensive information on each building or place can be found in the Liberton Association's booklet, Aboon the Kirk. Please contact the association if you'd like a copy of the booklet.